Ice cream comes in all flavors and in many ways, but how do you make the best ice cream sandwiches? The new thing is the ice creams that do not melt. Have you heard them? Also, do you know the curious story of how the first ice cream cones were created? It is shocking and we will tell you. These two types of ice cream are the favorites of many and undoubtedly one of the most popular. Its manufacturing at an industrial level is somewhat meticulous so that we can have a perfect ice cream sandwich and a snack cone. And how are they made? You are about to see it. If you are a fan of how your favorite products and daily use are made, this is your place. Subscribe so that you are always up to date with the new videos, because we have direct access to the biggest and best factories specialized in maxi production. Most ice cream sandwiches are rectangular in shape and almost all major ice cream companies have it on their menu. It is also known as frozen alfajor. Ice cream sandwiches have a relatively simple recipe, but that doesn't take away from the deliciousness. That delicate combination between the creamy texture of the ice cream and the crunchy chocolate cookie makes the difference. Of course, to make the ice cream sandwich you need to make ice cream. Starting with fresh cream, the factory stores it in refrigerated silos set to a few degrees above freezing. The silos feed a high-speed mixer that mixes the cream with other ingredients. The main dry ingredients are skimmed milk powder and vegetable-based stabilizers and emulsifiers. Stabilizers prevent the ice cream from crystallizing and emulsifiers allow the mixture to collect air during the churning process. The other ingredients are sugar and corn syrup. After about 3 minutes of mixing, a pumping system takes the mix to pasteurization tanks and heats it to 162 degrees for half an hour, thus killing bacteria and activating stabilizers. After the factory homogenizes the mix, in this process the fat globules are broken, giving the ice cream a smooth texture. After the mixture was cooled and vanilla flavoring concentrate was added. After the preparation had cooled, it began to beat for about 15 seconds. Shaking adds air to the mixture, turning it from a liquid to a soft solid. This is quite important, because without air the finished product would look like frozen milk instead of ice cream. This is what would happen if it hadn't been churned. Ice cream sandwich wafers are made with chocolate cake ingredients. A filling machine feeds 2 lines of wafers into a shot tube. As 2 wafers are being brought together, the machine injects a 1/3 cup of vanilla ice cream between them. The tube head shapes the ice cream into a rectangular plate that fits perfectly between the wafers. But we are talking about maxi production, and all this happens at a rate of 140 ice cream sandwiches per minute. As the sandwiches go into packaging, the filling is still frozen from the frozen phase, so there is no threat of melting. The packaging system lifts each sandwich into a wrapper, then folds and tucks the ends in. The next machine counts the sandwiches and inserts them into boxes. When these are sealed, the boxes go directly into a storage freezer at -22 degrees Celsius. And how did it all start? The ice cream sandwich is believed to have been invented in 1890 by street vendors on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in New York, United States. The popularity of these has steadily increased, inspiring dairy companies to create their own versions of ice cream sandwiches for their customers. At the time it was a success. Its format compared to other ice creams was new. It consisted of a sheet of vanilla ice cream sandwiched between 2 cracker halves. Back then they were not sweet but slightly salty cookies. The success of this ice cream was such that it reached the newspapers of the time. In 1900 the New York Tribune published an article about the vendor who created the ice cream sandwich. In the article it was said that he was so busy preparing the sandwiches that he did not have time to give change to the customers, so he asked just 1 cent per sandwich. And he hasn't stopped production since. The future is now, and that is why ice creams that do not melt are also being created. It sounds like something out of science fiction, but the food industry has achieved something quite similar to this fantasy. The fight against the sticky liquid of the melted ice cream could disappear. Because in the United States and Australia there are already brands that offer an ice cream sandwich with that incredible quality that defies physics and chemistry. What is the secret so that they do not melt? According to a spokesperson for the manufacturing company, the ice creams are melted according to their ingredients, including the cream. In general, the ones with more cream melt slower, which is the case with the new non-melting ice cream sandwiches. According to the Consumer Reports website, manufacturers add gums and other ingredients such as calcium sulfate and monoglycerides, which serve to prevent ice cream from melting so quickly. They are also added to prevent them from crystallizing when products are placed in and taken out of the freezer. Precisely these explanations were received by an Australian woman who called the ice cream factory she was eating, worried after verifying that one of these ice cream sandwiches had fallen in the garden, and after 4 days with a temperature of 26 degrees Celsius, it was still on the floor without melting. But what had disturbed her the most, according to her, was that no animal or insect had come near to eat it. What do you think about this? Tell us. But we also bring another type of ice cream that is quite popular. Cones or waffles. Once again, the crunchy and soft ice cream are mixed to create a pleasant sensation on the palate. And how do they do these? On another line, the production of ice cream cones is underway. A feeder leaves pre-wrapped sugar cones in holders on a conveyor belt. An ice cream cone, cornet, wafer or ice cream cone is a conical-shaped dry paste, usually made from a wafer, which allows ice cream to be eaten without the need for a bowl and, sometimes, a spoon. In addition to waffle, ice cream cones can be made with cookies, pretzels and sugar. The first cones were rolled by hand, but in 1912 Frederick Bruckman, an inventor from Portland, Oregon, patented a machine for rolling ice cream cones. He sold his company in 1928 to Nabisco, which has produced them ever since. Independent ice cream makers like the one we see here make their own cone cookies. Have you eaten that layer of chocolate at the bottom of the ice cream cone? Well, it is not just an attraction, it has a function beyond. The sprinkles coat the inside with a layer of chocolate because it adds flavor and creates a barrier between the cones and the ice cream so the cone stays crunchy until you eat it. Incredible! The ice cream filling is then emptied from the nozzles. One production line, 2 flavors. One row receives vanilla ice cream, the other chocolate. The best is a tasty surprise in the core of the cone, a shot of liquid caramel. This factory also makes chocolate and strawberry sauce inside. Next, a chocolate-flavored liquid coating. Then the crunchy final touch, a layer of puffed rice covered in chocolate. Finally, the cones are moved under a cap dispenser that applies a waxed paper cap to each one. A heating element melts the wax instantly, sealing the lids to the paper cone sleeve. From here, the ice cream cones go into the boxes, then straight into the freezer, ready to be licked off. It sounds quick and easy, but it wasn't always like that. The idea of selling a frozen ice cream cone, so that the cone and ice cream were a single product, storable in a freezer, was an old dream of ice cream makers, but it wasn't until 1928 that J.T. Stubby Parker of Fort Worth, Texas, created an ice cream cone with these characteristics. To market it, he founded the Drumstick Company in 1931, which was bought in 1991 by Nestlé. In 1959, Spiker, an Italian ice cream maker based in Naples, invented a process to insulate the interior of the waffle cone with a layer of oil, sugar and chocolate. Spiker registered the Cornetto trademark in 1960. Initially sales were poor, but in 1976 Unilever acquired Spiker and launched a massive marketing campaign across Europe, making it one of the most popular ice creams in the world today. And where did the idea of using a mold cookie to contain the ice cream come from? It was not the result of a laboratory of ideas to innovate the market, but by chance. In 1904, Syrian baker Ernest Hamwi and French-born ice cream maker Arnold Fournichou occupied 2 adjoining spaces at the World's Fair in St. Louis, United States. Fournichou sold so much that one day he ran out of plates or cups to serve his customers ice cream, so he had to find an urgent solution. Seeing that customers just bought some cookies from his neighbor, called Zalabia, he took a few, rolled them up and put a piece of ice cream inside. The brilliant idea worked, he stayed inside without problems, so he began to sell it in baskets. He sold out, and his companion Hamwi too. There are too many styles that can print these ice creams, different flavors, different sizes and shapes. They are constantly renewed. For example, it is very fashionable to make an ice cream sandwich with bread, just like a sandwich for breakfast, and in fact, in Singapore they usually eat it that way. Have you tried it? Do you prefer it like this or with the cookie? We read you. Without a doubt, these 2 types of ice cream are very popular, and that is why we have decided to take you to the factory so that you can see their production firsthand. We also tell you some curious facts about its origin and what is new. Do you like to know how your favorite products are created? Subscribe, here we will give you direct access to the largest and most famous factories in maxi production. Being a fan of ice cream is a reality for many and you already know how they are made. Thanks for joining us here. See you in the next video.